The night the city forgot how to sleep, love learned how to breathe again. Neon lights bled into the rain-soaked streets, and somewhere between the echo of distant sirens and the hum of traffic, Arif stood on his balcony wondering when his heart had become so quiet. He was known for his music, for beats that made crowds move and lyrics that made strangers feel seen, yet lately every note he created felt hollow. Fame had given him everything except the one thing he craved most, someone who could see beyond the spotlight and still choose him. As the rain fell harder, he pressed his headphones to his ears, searching for a sound that could remind him why he had started making music in the first place. Across the city, in a small cafe that stayed open long after hope usually closed its doors, Mira wiped down tables and pretended not to notice the empty chair across from her. She had once believed love was simple, something you grew into like a favorite song. But after a relationship that promised forever and delivered silence, she had learned how fragile trust could be. Still, she kept a notebook tucked beneath the counter, filled with poems she never shared and sketches of emotions she couldn't name. Every night, she wrote as if someone, somewhere, might one day read her heart and understand it. Their worlds collided by accident, the way the best stories always begin. Arif ducked into the cafe to escape the rain, frustrated after another failed studio session. Mira looked up just as the bell above the door rang, and for a moment time slowed. There was nothing dramatic about it, no thunder or sudden realization, just a quiet recognition, like hearing a melody you didn't know you'd been missing. He ordered coffee. She handed it to him. Their fingers brushed, and something shifted, subtle but undeniable. They talked without trying. About music and late nights, about dreams that felt too big and fears that felt too real. Arif didn't mention his fame, and Mira didn't mention her past heartbreak. For that 1 hour, they were simply two people sharing warmth while the rain rewrote the city outside. When he finally left, he forgot his headphones on the table. Mira picked them up, smiling softly, already sensing this was not an ending. What followed was a slow unfolding, a love built in shades rather than absolutes. They met again, then again, in spaces that felt safe. Arif found himself writing music inspired by the way Mira listened, not just to his songs but to his silences. Mira began to believe her words mattered when Arif read her poems as if they were lyrics waiting for a melody. Together, they discovered that love was not one color, but many, shifting with mood and moment. But love, like music, is never without dissonance. Arif's career surged forward just as their relationship deepened. Tours, interviews, deadlines that stole sleep and patience. Mira supported him, proud yet quietly afraid. She had seen how ambition could slowly replace affection. Arif, caught between gratitude and pressure, started missing calls, canceling plans, assuming love would wait because it always had. The cafe felt emptier. The balcony felt colder. Words that once flowed easily began to stumble. The first real fight came without warning, sharp and overdue. Mira accused him of loving his music more than the people in his life. Arif fired back, saying she didn't understand the weight of his dreams. The truth hurt because it lived somewhere between them. They walked away that night carrying the same pain, each convinced the other didn't see them anymore. Days turned into weeks. Silence grew heavy. Arif tried to lose himself in work, but every track sounded unfinished. Mira wrote furiously, pages filled with longing and anger, love and disappointment tangled together. They were both learning the hardest lesson of love, that connection fades not only from betrayal, but from neglect. The turning point came unexpectedly. Arif found Mira's notebook in his bag, the one she must have slipped in months ago, shyly asking him to read it when he had time. He opened it on a flight, surrounded by strangers, and felt his chest tighten. Her words spoke of loving someone who was always leaving, of believing in a future that kept changing shape. For the first time, Arif understood that his absence had been louder than any promise. He cancelled his next show. When Arif walked into the cafe again, it was early morning. Mira was opening up, her eyes widening in disbelief. He didn't explain at first. He just stood there, vulnerable and unguarded, and said he was sorry. Not the kind of sorry meant to end an argument, but the kind that acknowledges damage. He told her he was afraid of losing himself if he slowed down, and afraid of losing her if he didn't. Mira listened, tears blurring her vision, realizing that love wasn't about never hurting each other, but about choosing to heal together. They didn't fix everything that day. But they chose to try. The months that followed were not perfect. Arif learned to create boundaries between his work and his heart. Mira learned to voice her fears before they turned into walls. They argued, they adjusted, they forgave. Love became a balance of compromise and commitment, not a fantasy but a practice. The music video was born from this journey. Shades of love painted across frames of laughter, distance, anger, reconciliation. Not a fairy tale, but a truth. When the song finally released, fans praised its honesty, its emotional depth, unaware that every note carried a piece of two lives learning how to align. On the night of the premiere, Arif and Mira stood together on that same balcony where the story had quietly begun. The city pulsed below, alive and restless. Arif played the song softly from his phone. Mira leaned into him, recognizing her words transformed into sound, their struggles transformed into art. Love, they realized, was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be real. And as the final note faded into the night, they understood that the strongest relationships are not defined by how brightly they begin, but by how bravely they endure. In a world obsessed with extremes, they had found beauty in the in-between, in the many shades that make love not just survive, but mean something.